out of New York this morning. How Rex Heuermann's defense team is responding to a bombshell ruling coming this week that the defendant in the Gilgo Beach murders case will now face one trial for all 7 homicide allegations. A New York State Supreme Court judge issued the ruling on Tuesday after his defense attorney moved to try the cases separately. Now, Heuermann is accused of killing 7 women between the years 1993 and 2010. He has pleaded not guilty in the case. Now, this ruling comes just 1 week after prosecutors announced that they're ready to go to trial, but no trial date has been set. Now, Rex Heuermann's attorney, Michael J. Brown, is here on the show this morning to talk about that ruling. Let's bring him in now. Michael, good morning to you. First, we want to get your reaction, if we can, please, to the ruling.
Well, Julie, there were several rulings that came out the other day. One was the severance issue, which you're referring to, and there was also the motion to preclude the DNA because of the violation of New York State public health law. We're obviously disappointed. You know, my position is always don't waste anybody's time. I respect the court's time. I respect my adversary's time. So I don't just file motions for the sake of making motions. We make motions because we think we have a strong argument. And that's the case in this instance. We thought we had a very good argument on both grounds. We obviously lost. The court ultimately makes that decision, and we're stuck with that. The issue is well preserved for appellate purposes in the event we don't prevail at trial. So we move forward. We go forward. We continue to prepare. We continue to fight for our client, and with an eye towards trying the case.
Exactly. You know, for anybody who may not be familiar with your work or maybe has never tuned into the show, if this is the first day, I always say Michael J. Brown's going to have a backup plan for his backup plans. You are an incredibly seasoned trial attorney, and so I can't help but think you knew this would be a possibility, right? Have you been planning for this in the event that it doesn't go the way you had hoped?
Yeah, Julie, these motions, again, you have the DNA and you have the severance issue. The court had to make that decision. It's a high publicity case, a lot of notoriety, a lot of eyes watching, and the court denied our motion. So yeah, we go forward. We're going to try one case as opposed to 2, 3, or 4 cases. So yeah, did we expect a decision in our favor? I'm not going to say we expected it. We had hoped for it, and we thought we were correct on the law. But again, so we go forward on one case and do our best with the one trial.
Michael, tell me, explain to us why it would have been advantageous for you and your client to go one by one on each of these allegations.
Well, and again, Julie, remember, so we conceded the 3 out of the 4 original Gilgo 4. Those should be tried together. So our original application was 3 of the victims should be tried together, and the other 4 should be separated and should be individual trials. When you have, assuming it was granted, for instance, which I think is what you're asking, well, if it's 3 together, we can focus on those 3, and we can focus on those 3 victims and the evidence on those 3 victims. And then when you go to the next trial, you can focus on that particular case and so forth. So it definitely makes it easier for the defense to be able to narrow down the focus of the case. But keep in mind, there are differences, and that's part of our motion. There are significant differences in some of the victims and some of the particularities of those cases. So that may have come out anyway on cross-examination because it kind of shows that he is not the culprit. He is not the individual who committed these crimes. But the point of the motion is that should be our decision to make, not the prosecutors. And initially, we wanted it severed. And if we wanted to introduce certain evidence that contradicts their theory, that would be our option, not theirs.
Understood. Michael, let's go back to something you touched on, the other big ruling about the advanced DNA being allowed in at trial. What does this mean for you and your client?
Well, as you know, we were fighting this new whole genome sequencing and, more importantly, the IBD gem and those results, which are off the charts, completely on the other polar end of the mitochondrial results. And we were trying to preclude that. We lost. We were not successful. Now, a couple of things. I think that the Fry hearing, which is our initial threshold hearing that we conducted, I think we prevailed in that hearing. I think it was clear from the evidence adduced both on the people's case and on our case that this is not general acceptance in the scientific community. The judge didn't agree with us. It is well preserved for appellate issues in the event we're not successful at trial. Having said that, Julie, remember, it comes into evidence subject to the foundational requirements, but that does not mean we can't cross-examine. And I spent a good 6 months on preparing the Fry hearing, so I have a lot of ammunition to cross-examine these very same witnesses during the course of the trial. And I think actually it would be even more effective in front of a jury because the things like the bias, the things like the money, the things like the interest and trying to further your own career, all these things are important and they'll be more important in front of a jury. So yes, it will come in subject to those foundational requirements, but we still have an ability and an opportunity to cross-examine those witnesses before the fact finders, namely the 12 jurors.
Michael, appreciate it. Tell us, are we close to a trial date being set yet, or is that still too far off in the future?
I think we're off for a bit. Right now, the judge put it over till January for us to file any additional motions, and there's a lot of search warrants, and we're certainly going to explore any of, improprieties and illegalities in those search warrants. So we'll have those motions in hopefully by that January, I think it's 13th date. And at that point, shortly afterwards, I do expect the judge will set a trial date, maybe with an eye, and this is just my guesstimate, maybe with an eye towards September of 2026.
Okay, so a good ballpark. At least it gives us a little bit of an idea of when it may take place. Michael J. Brown, appreciate you sharing what you're able to share about this case. As you know, it's making headlines all over the place. And for anybody who may have tuned in to see this interview, Michael's on every Thursday morning with us, and we're going to pick his brain coming up next. Stay right there, Michael. Coming up on opening statements, we're going to go to Florida and talk about the case that we've branded the pregnant mistress murder trial. So we're in the penalty phase for this man. Can his former girlfriend help save his life?
Julito did everything during our 4-year relationship that he should have to display great characteristic of a man for my children. He would an example of a man that I should have probably treated a little better.
Then after the break, we're going to go to Mississippi for the plotting parents murder trial. The biggest moments from day one are next in what's trending in true crime.
My 2 best friends were just murdered.
Join me for a Court TV true crime series where we take you from the crime scene to the courtroom.
Donna Adelson hates every piece of grass that Dan Marcel ever walked on.
It's something that'll haunt all of us forever.
It always seemed like he was covering or deceiving.
This was a whole different level.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands, a Court TV original series. Season premieres September 27th.
Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. The plotting parents murder trials. What's trending in true crime this morning, and we could hear from the victim's mother today. Defendant Jeffrey Spence is accused of fatally shooting his daughter's boyfriend back in 2022. In a very tangled family affair, prosecutors claim that Spence plotted with his wife and his daughter to rob and kill Kirby Carpenter. Mom and daughter Karen and Caitlin Spence accepted plea deals in the case. Neither one of them serving jail time, though. Caitlin is expected to testify against her father as part of this deal. And we should also note she had a child with the victim. So here's how both sides laid out their case in their opening statements.
What was his motive? It's an old story, money, greed. The investigation by the County Sheriff's Department shows that the security cameras have been disabled. You'll hear evidence about a satchel of money that Kirby commonly carried around, well known, was missing. and the .22 pistol that he commonly carried in his pocket was also missing.
Jeff Spence hasn't killed anybody, and he is chosen in this case. He's selected to be the criminal defendant. This case is based on government theory, not government evidence. There is no evidence, none, zero, that Jeff Spence was at Kirby Carpenter's house on November 30th.
So who told the better story in the openings? Let's bring in our legal eagles and see what they think. Still with me, attorney Michael J. Brown, and want to welcome in attorney John Phillips. Good morning to you both. John, let me start with you. Whose side did you like better in the opens and why?
I liked Michael J. Brown's side.
Aww.
Oh, wait, he's not in on this case. It was the first case. Great job, Michael. You know what the government has, right? They have family members. So you think they got a really good case, but that gentleman in the seersucker suit made a lot of fine points too. You know, I grew up a little bit in Mississippi, and I feel like I know all these folks from like around the corner. But you know, this one feels like it should be a slam dunk from what I've read so far. It's really not.
Great point, John. Yeah, it's interesting. We've got two family members pleading, getting involved in this prosecution. One still outstanding. Not a slam dunk, certainly. Michael J. Brown, what do you think? Whose side did you like better and why?
Well, Julie, I think John's right on. The prosecution has with those two family members, that's a big deal because to get one is a big deal. To get the second, now you have the wife as well, along with the daughter. That's really powerful testimony because for somebody to come into court and testify against a dad and a husband, that is going to be quite compelling evidence, and I think that's going to put him over the edge for sure.
Appreciate it. Let's talk about the daughter a little here. So one of the people who's accepted a plea, no jail time involved with her plea, she made the 911 call. She reported finding her boyfriend Kirby Carpenter's body, called 911. Now, investigators say that this wasn't a fresh death at the point of her 911 call. They believe that he was murdered days before she placed this call. Let's listen to it. Okay, I'm just going to acknowledge that was very hard for me to hear. So if you had trouble at home, I'm with you. John Phillips, based on what you could hear of it, we know she's hysterical, right? She's crying. At least that's evident. We can hear the noisiness with her and the hysteria. Was it feigned? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know. Your thoughts on the daughter and whether she was behind the plot?
I was leaning into my computer, even though it makes no difference because the sound is coming from my ears. But look, you know, the whole story behind Kirby Carpenter was that he carried around hundreds of thousands of dollars and gold medallions and all this money, and that this was a plot to kill for money. And then he was found with a few $1,000s on the, you know, at the time, or that's what he had left. And I can see it from a perspective of a mom or dad, but they had a kid together. And so I haven't seen enough yet to really make me see why she would be involved with this. But, you know, we're just getting started with the case. But, I guess the state plans to have her testify about that.
Right. Yeah, they sure do, John. So some more details here to unpack. Kirby Carpenter's body was found outside near a shed. There were signs his body was moved. Let's listen to what Deputy Chris McAllister had to say about that.
To me, it said, basically somebody was putting the body there where either somebody else would not see it or they wouldn't have to look at it, one of the two.
Okay.
What does that suggest to you?
Somebody close had something to do with it. As a normal person, I believe if they come rob somebody, based on what I've seen over the last 30 years, that you're going to kill somebody and rob them and take their stuff. You're going to leave the body laying where it is. You're not going to try to hide the body. You're going to try to get out of there as fast as you can.
Okay, Michael J. Brown, your thoughts on that?
Bingo. I agree with that. So what you have here, Julie, is you have a situation where it's not a hit and run in the sense of, hey, the guy carries a lot of cash. I know about it. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to steal the cash, and I'm going to leave as quick as I can. This is somewhat calculated. There's a planning. There's premeditation. They kill. They take the money, and then they do their best to hide the body and or move the body. Going back to the daughter, and John hit it on the head again, the daughter can say what she wants, and you can attack her from a defense standpoint, and it's always great cross-examination. But the problem the defense is going to have here is it's not just the daughter. Now you have the mom as well. So when you have somebody corroborating the initial informant and or cooperating witness, it becomes much more difficult to attack their credibility. When you have two people, both loved ones, both intimate, one intimate, I should say, it becomes much more difficult from a defense standpoint to attack their credibility.
Yes, exactly. So let's talk about some hearsay. There's one witness who told authorities that Caitlin Spence told him that her father killed her boyfriend, Kirby Carpenter. Is that enough to convict? John Phillips, what do you think?
With everything else, that statement against interest, excited utterance. There's a lot of exceptions, and otherwise that your law school and future law school students know, and all the grads out there. But again, the problem is you got to add all this up together, and Michael and I are kind of a broken record here on. You got a mom and a daughter going to testify against their own loved one, not the other way around, which is usually the case. And I just, certainly if that's another check mark for the state, this is leaning towards slam dunk more than I thought it was.
Sure. Yeah, you add that statement in, and then how does it, I guess tip the scales of justice, as I like to say, for the jury, with the other evidence that you're coupling it with, as you're saying, John. Michael J. Brown, tell me, if you're on the defense side, I would think if you're on that side, you'd try to keep this out, because it was the witness telling authorities what Caitlin told him about this, fact that she's claiming to be true, but it's the ultimate issue here.
Yeah, Julie, well, you can't have the detective say what this cooperating witness said from the daughter. That's double hearsay. That's not coming in. But you need to call that actual witness, who I think they are going to call. And that clearly, as John said, is an admission. It's a confession. It's against their penal interest. So that would come in. That witness, by the way, I think was incarcerated. He has an extensive criminal record. So they're going to go to town on his credibility. But just like John said, I have to follow John, and now I have to always give him the compliment, of course, is that it's a piece of the puzzle. So it's another piece of the puzzle. That by itself is not going to suffice, but it's another building block in their case that when you look at the totality, it's going to be a piece of the puzzle. It's going to be, again, powerful for them.
Yeah, definitely. That witness's name is David Barnes. We'll leave it there for now as this trial continues this morning. We'll see what comes in day number 2. Michael J. Brown, big thanks to you. We have to let you get off to court. Thank you so much. John Phillips is coming with us. Do the same at home, please. Here's what's next on Opening Statements. Police have returned the body of a 15-year-old girl found in singer David's Tesla. Okay, her body has been returned to the family. So what comes next? The family may be working on burial plans, a memorial service, who knows? But what about him? Are we going to see him charged? We'll talk about it with our investigators. And we'll go to Florida with Jose Soto-Escalera facing the death penalty in Florida. His defense team trying to save his life. Can a former girlfriend do it? We'll talk about it. 20-year-old singer David went from performing hits like Where'd It Go Wrong in front of hundreds of fans to waiting for charges to possibly be announced against him. The remains of Celeste Hernandez were released to her family on Tuesday, this according to the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. Now, this comes weeks after the 15-year-old's body was found in the trunk of David's Tesla. Police have not named David as a suspect, and he is said to be cooperating with authorities. Now, according to the medical examiner, we know that Hernandez's body was found severely decomposed back on September the 8th. Her body was also found dismembered in that trunk, and her cause of death is still unknown. A statement from the LA County Medical Examiner to Court TV said, quote, the decedent was found severely decomposed inside a vehicle on September the 8th, 2025. She appears to have been deceased inside of that vehicle for an extended period of time before being found. Now, as authorities continue to piece together the investigation and what happened to this young lady, let's talk about why we haven't seen any charges filed against singer David. Let's bring in former SLED agent and attorney Tommy Pope and private investigator and military veteran, also served with the NYPD, Manuel Gomez. Good morning to you both. Tommy, the charges, you're able to look at this as an attorney, former prosecutor, and investigator. Give us your best educated guess why no charges yet.
I think the facts are more complicated than they appear on the surface. I've been trying to piece it through. So you've got a vehicle that's recovered in proximity, in the neighborhood, clearly that can be tied to the I started to say defendant, to the David. And on the outside looking in, it sounds like to me somebody had a job to get rid of the body and perhaps chickened out and abandon the car, because you say, why put it in your own car? Why, say, whether David committed it or somebody else committed it, get this body out of here, get it away from here. And whoever's driving starts thinking, if they're by themselves, I don't want any part of this, abandons the car. And of course, then the car was towed in, and I think the police lot and ultimately the decomposition is what drew their attention to it. So I think it's a bigger puzzle than just the fact that it's in somebody's car. If he is cooperating, law enforcement doesn't want to be too quick to shut that down, because even somebody that you may prosecute eventually, if they're cooperating, they can give you things that harm them, even when they think they're smarter than you and covering that. So I think law enforcement's doing the right thing. They're taking the slow steps to make sure all the pieces are together. And as a prosecutor, I always appreciate when they do take that extra time.
Sure. And that's a great follow-up question for you, please, Tommy. Do you think that some DAs in the LA County District Attorney's Office are working with investigators right now, this early on?
Sure, I would think anytime you've got, normally there's one of two ways. There was an old investigator in Rock Hill. He said, I'll just charge them all with murder, and Pope can figure it out. It didn't matter if it was a manslaughter or anything else. That was a little bit of a heavy burden. So anytime they include the prosecution early, have a good working relationship, I think it certainly helps. And again, rather than rush to judgment, but I'm just afraid there's going to be some pieces here that are going to have to be proved up somewhere, or you're dealing with pure circumstantial evidence.
Tommy, thank you for that. Manuel Gomez, I want to tap into your many years of an investigation experience and ask you, this guy apparently is cooperating, according to police. We don't know what he shared, but they've just said he's cooperating. I'm curious if they're surveilling him. I'd love to know what you think about that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're watching every step he's doing and checking all his digital footprints and seeing, what connections there are between Celeste and him. But Julie, what I find mind-blowing and really nobody's talking about is David is a sexual predator. He targeted this young 12-year-old and 13-year-old. Now, there is concrete evidence showing that they were online chatting. They were online hooking up. Those texts, that's a fact out there right now. The fact is, why isn't he arrested at a minimum for being a predator, hunting a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old? And everybody keeps saying that she was 15. No, she died at 14 and her body was discovered, all right, when turning 15. But the bottom line is he was with this minor. Now, yes, like my partner said, my colleague said, you know, a lot of this evidence out there regarding the murder is circumstantial. And that's another thing. Everybody's so careful, Julie, of calling it a murder. It is a murder. She was chopped up. She was in garbage bags. She was shoved in a Tesla trunk. Call it what it is. It's a murder, America. And if you smell a smell out there that smells like rotting chicken, people, that's what a human body unfortunately smells like, that, because I've been around that in war. And I will tell you right now, if you smell something, call 911. Don't wait days. They have cadaver dogs that can find whatever that horrible smell is coming from, and you could possibly help expedite an investigation and help solve a crime. Again, if you see something, say something. If you smell something, say something. Call 911.
Yeah, you're right, Manuel. And you raise an interesting question. It's a fair point you have raised. Why haven't there been some charges? And to your point, investigators have not confirmed a relationship. So no one official has confirmed that these two were together, and if there was any violation of any statutes because of his age. We know that he's 20 right now, and Manuel, you're right, she was 14 at the time of her death. Don't know at what point she allegedly made contact with him, but how I wish someone somewhere would just confirm that there was a relationship. But at this point, I want to be clear, we don't know. I want to play a clip for you both. So this is a portion of his music video for this song called One More Dance, where in the video, he's seen dragging a body to the trunk of a car.
heavier the snow, the heavier the weight, after watching you go.
All right, let me give you some context here. Tommy Pope, that video dropped just 7 months ago. Your thoughts?
I don't know. The first thing I'm thinking is that investigators, you notice there were 2 more guys helping put the body in the trunk, so we got to find those guys too. It's, you know, maybe it's a sad, odd coincidence, but I'm afraid it's not. And I can already see the admissibility hearing on that if the day comes that there are charges. That I mean, it's just macabre to me that correlation is there.
Yeah, you know, I mean, is this a creative coincidence? I mean, she goes missing Valentine's Day in 2024. There's that YouTube video where it looks like her. Many online sleuths are speculating it's her. I wish her family would confirm, but it seems to be that she's with him. This is in December of 2023. And we're in 2025, as we know, gentlemen. Manuel, 7 months ago, this comes out. Is this a creative coincidence to you?
No, I believe it shows his mindset. And not only that, but the video of him showing him chopping chicken up and saying, this is what I'm going to do if she looks at somebody else. Clearly, this guy was acting out his real, true personality. And like he said, he loved the macabre because the macabre is in him. And I hope they really get this killer off the street, because I'm sorry, Julie, but I'm calling it what it is. I'm using Occam's razor, and that is, the principle is whatever is the most simplest after all the facts are looked at, that's the truth. And the truth is everything points to him.
We know this child's mother said that she had a boyfriend named David. This guy's real name is David Burke. Even though he spells it weird as an artist, D4VD, he pronounces it David. This is the victim, Celeste Hernandez. Manuel, she had a tattoo on her right index finger that said, shh. He's got the same one on his right index finger. What do you think? How dispositive is that?
Well, I think the tattoo, no, not I think, I guarantee you that tattoo is one of his Achilles heels. That will bring him down if the investigators go find the tattoo artist, will show that the same tattoo artist did that tattoo, and then proving that he was with her at that same time. I doubt this 13-year-old went out or 14-year-old went out and went to a tattoo artist and says, hey, duplicate this. And when you look at the fingers, you'll see that they are identical, which proves that the tattoo artist that did it was the same person, because the stroke of the hand is only to that person. It's like your signature is unique, your fingerprint is unique, and so is your style of painting. That tattoo can be his downfall. Why hasn't this been brought up? And there is a video with her and him, like you said. And if you look at the facial features, and I have, it is her. The chin, the nose, the eyes, the skin complexion, it is her. Why haven't they arrested him? I am baffled by this.
Yeah, I hear you, Manuel. I am too. Boy, I could talk to you and Tommy all day. I have so many more questions. So let's do it again, gentlemen, because we're out of time, unfortunately, here. But excellent insight you've given us. We'll report any updates. Tommy Pope, Manuel Gomez, thank you so much. We'll hit a break. Still ahead here on Opening Statements.
I'm angry. I'm angry because I don't have Tanya and Josiah here with me to love and joy and share my life with every day. They should have been here. Instead, I'm left with grief, sadness, and memories.
The jury's already heard from some family members of victim Tanya Wise, but could the testimony from a former girlfriend of Jose Soto-Escalera's save his life? That's next.
A tragedy on the Mississippi, a young mother executed and her 2-day-old daughter allegedly thrown into the river. Now the baby's father stands trial for double murder.
The Baby in the River murder trial today, only on Court TV.
The brutal murders of 2 young girls.
Delphi is not one of those places where this would happen.
I killed Abby and Lily.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. Season premieres Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Now for what's tipping the scales. The penalty phase for convicted killer Jose Soto-Escalera continues this morning at 9:30. The married father of 4 is facing the death penalty for the murder of his pregnant mistress and their unborn baby. Now, on Wednesday, jurors heard from the victim's family and 2 character witnesses, including an ex-girlfriend who called him a good guy and denied that he was ever violent.
How did you feel being in a relationship with Jose?
I was just getting out of an abusive relationship, so I wasn't very nice to him. But he did everything he knew to do to display a great characteristic of a man that my son should look up to.
I think you just told us in one of your disagreements you spat upon him. How did he react to that?
Just wiped it off.
So despite provocations, you have not ever seen Jose to be violent? Is that so?
I've never seen the man be violent, and his occupation was a bouncer. I never even seen him fight a man.
Okay, so will the ex-girlfriend's testimony be enough to tip the scales to save him? Let's talk about that. Let's bring in high-profile attorney John Phillips, talk about this. John, what do you think? Hearing from her, hearing that she was the one who would admittedly get aggressive with him, and he never ever snapped, never ever laid a hand on her. How much weight do you think the jury will give that?
I think it'll help, when you do criminal defense, the one thing you're sending out pretty much every case is, all right, talk to all your friends and family and find anybody that'll testify on your behalf that you're good, that you meant well, that this was a bad stage in your life. That's a little different because the former girlfriend, he wasn't hiding an affair. He wasn't hiding a baby from, which is completely different. And the malicious, just horrible act here, is what the jury's got to get out of their mind enough to see if this guy's redeemable or if the state should give him the ultimate punishment.
Yeah, you're right, John. Let's take a look at another clip from the girlfriend. Here, this is where she's talking about how she doesn't want him to lose his life.
Why have you come?
Joselito did everything during our 4-year relationship that he should have to display great characteristic of a man for my children. He would do an example of a man that I should have probably treated a little better. And I was just, I can't sleep at night knowing that he's gonna lose his life. And I was so mean to him for no reason at all.
Well, we don't know that yet. Do you want him to lose his life?
No.
Okay, John, what do you think that moment there did, if anything, with the jury?
I think they swallow hard. I've had a case where a man raped and murdered and chopped up his own niece by marriage, and his life was spared for the death penalty. And that was one of the few that I was like, all right, this is one that I see, right? This is one, because I'm generally not for the death penalty. I want, God to do that, not the state. But I don't know that, I don't know how the jury's going to feel, but I don't think one witness is going to necessarily carry, the day for him either. And St. Lucie County, I've tried cases down there, and their jurors lean forward and take this stuff seriously and take crime very, very seriously.
Yes, I'm happy to hear you say that, John. We were talking with Jessica Mashali when this case opened up, and I was saying, would you say these jurors tend to lean more toward prosecutions, rather than the defenses that are put up? And she said, oh, definitely, it's that way, and you're saying the same to us. How about with the death penalty, though? Have you seen any death penalty cases come out of there? Do you expect the jurors to be able to follow the law if they find there are the aggravators the state's presented?
I'm going to go a step further and say Sheriff Mascara and some of the law enforcement down there have kind of ruled with a bit of an iron fist, almost to the point, I've filed civil rights suits against them. And so it is, and I've lost them actually down there too, but I think the jury here would lean towards, and by demographics would lean towards a death penalty. There have been death penalty cases that have come out of down there. There's been some atrocious crimes that happen in that kind of Space Coast area of Florida, that middle band between South Florida and North Florida. But I'm torn on this one. And again, I generally lean towards only using the death penalty in the most extreme cases. And this is horrible, horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. His own child killed here, along with his mistress. John, in Florida, as you know, after the Nicholas Cruz case that we all saw playing out, lawmakers acted, and for anybody who may not realize, just a little refresher, all you need is 8 of the 12 to agree. Your thoughts on that from a defense perspective? Does that make it even scarier?
It does. Yeah, again, the death penalty is supposed to be the most severe consequence we have in the entire United States. It's been held not to be cruel and unusual, and I like the unanimous element that we formerly had.
Mm-hmm. And so here the defense would need 5. They need 5 people in order to save his life, and the state is looking for 8. In order to get the death penalty. John Phillips, this has been such valuable insight. Thank you so much. We always love having you. I'll see you next Thursday morning, my friend. Take good care. And friends at home, that's all for this episode of Opening Statements. If you liked it, guess what? You can watch it again. You can share it with your friends if you want. Go to courttv.com, your favorite website.